Shabadoo babadoo dabadabadoo. If you thought that was cryptic, check this out.
You suck.
Took me half a day to come up with that. Right? Genius. If you're still here, hi, I'm Joey. This is Decks and Drafts, though today it's just decks. I'm taking a little bit of a break from beer when I can. However, Luke from Kryptik, he's kind of the head of design, he is not a beer drinker, but he's a coffee drinker. So I've got a coffee porter from Maxline that I will drink in your honor the next time that I drink a beer in the house. And we've got too much beer, so I need to get through it. But anyway, Luke, this will be for you eventually. That's my beer of the day. Anyway, let's talk about Kryptik. Why am I talking about Kryptik? Why am I putting in that effort and energy? First off, their Kickstarter launches on Friday, April 15th. So I wanted to maybe get ahead of it a little bit and share this is what you could be in for if this is a game that you've been looking out for. If it's one of those where you're like, well, how does it play? Because there's a billion TCGs out in the world. How is this one doing? I wanted to share some thoughts. And it turns out some people kind of like my reviews. I literally got a job from it. I head up marketing for Genesis Battle of Champions. I say that now as a disclosure because they might come up in conversation. I don't want it to seem like it's just a random thing. Full disclosure, I work for Genesis Battle of Champions. But that's not what we're talking about. We're talking about Kryptik. Community Driven TCG. Community Driven TCG specifically means that they've got the community that they've been testing, they've been playing around with rules. There's been a lot of involvement they're on Tabletop Simulator, trying the game, seeing if there's things that are imbalanced, seeing if the rules are actually working. They're voting on major rules changes. There's a lot of involvement. I appreciate that. I appreciate that a lot. This is one of those Genesis moments. That's basically what Genesis did. We're using the adjective battle tested for Battle of Champions, and that's kind of what Kryptik is trying to be. They want to put out a good game, and they're confident because the players made it that way. That's awesome. But the main reason that I want to cover Kryptik is because Tanner's just a really awesome guy, and I'm always going to appreciate somebody who puts his boots on the ground, jumps into the lion's den, and says, I've got something that I think you're going to like. I met him at GAMA, that's the Game Manufacturers Expo out in Reno, Nevada. He had a demo table from time to time, and he just had copies of his game. He didn't have a booth. This is for local local card shops, local game stores, distributors, creators. They all come together. This is like the point of purchasing for many, many stores. So to be in that space, saying that I'm confident in what I have and I want to bring it to you and I want to show you, doing that, he earns my time. That's not something that a lot of people do. I say that, we did it, but we had a booth. So Tanner, I appreciate you. I appreciate that confidence. I appreciate that effort. And for that, let's chat a little bit about your game. The best way that I've been able to describe Kryptik is it's a blend between Magic the Gathering and Missile Command. Yep, that Missile Command. There's a lot of different areas that you can kind of attack at once, and you kind of got to deal with multiple directions of things. I'll show off the game, and you'll kind of understand a little bit better, but it's actually a pretty neat mechanic. I'm not going to lie, quick review out of the gate. It's a pretty solid game. I have a couple of concerns, naturally, but overall, the time that I got to play it, and I'm basing this off of one game, I really enjoyed it. So I'm going to flip the camera, and I'll show you exactly what I'm talking about, and we'll go over kind of the lore and the story and things like that, because there's a lot of really cool, very different things that are happening here. Yeah, so I'll see you in just a sec. Welcome to the island of Kryptik. Not really. This is Wendy from Doomtown. It's kind of all that I have. I don't have a playmat, so bear with me. Anyway, think of Kryptik Island almost like a purgatory. It's not. It's more complex than that. But essentially the idea is that you show up on this island and it is your job to pair up with the various factions that exist there. Humans, mystics, undead, and ascendants. You can mix and match these however the heck you want to build a deck. But you pair up with the locals, with the citizens, to make the most out of a 66-year life that you have there. And if you can survive that, well, you survive. And if you just suck, well, then too freaking bad. So there you go, 66 years. Why 66 years? So that way you can have these little 11-year cards. This is basically kind of your life total. You'll start the game by setting 6 of these out. This is, each of these represents like 11 years. So as these go away and as these get knocked out, it just basically is closer to your judgment. But before we get into the actual game itself, let me show you how the actual cards work. We're going to bring in Juturna, and we'll do Eros, and I'll get a spell. Just so you can kind of see the basics of the game, see the basics of the cards. So I'm going to zoom in. I'm back to manual zooming, so I apologize if this is a little bit wonky. I'm going to do my best here. I'm going to do my best. So, all right. So I got a mystic, humans. These are citizens. So like I said, there's undead and there's ascendants and there's other difference. These are all citizens for all intents and purposes. Every citizen has a cost. This is the cost to play them. This is the attack. This is their defense. They've got actions. They've got, your standard, they do things. And then they've got two symbols down here, which we'll talk about more when we actually get into how the game plays out. But these are really, really important and makes the game actually pretty freaking awesome. But anyway, I also have spells. Spells. It's a spell. It's cost a thing, and it does a thing. There you go. That's your card. That's your card layout. Let's pull this bad boy up, and we'll lay out the game. So at the start of the game, I'm going to lay out 6 cards representing 11 years each. Like I said, they say these are 11-year cards. This is kind of like your life. It's a way to think of it, but your life is also a resource. There are different cards that kind of say you get to do something awesome in exchange for one of these. But there's more to it, which I'll play at the game. Down below, you've got a soul row. This is essentially where your mana is going to go. And up top is kind of the island and where all your attackers and defenders are going to be. Start of the game, draw 6 cards. 6 cards. Boom. I'm going to put this here, even though the deck kind of goes over here. It doesn't all fit on a map. It's going to be there for now. Draw 6 cards. You get kind of a stud mulligan. So I get to look through and I get to see, well, which cards do I actually want? Which ones don't I want? And I'm just going to say, I don't want these 3. And I forgot if they're shuffled back in or if they're put on the bottom. But I get to keep these 3, put 3 under, and I get to draw 3 more cards. So that's your mulligan rule. You get to do that, I think, I'm pretty sure once. God, I hope not every time. Anyway, when it comes to playing the cards, so as the, we're just going to say it's my turn. I'm caring about these specific icons kind of in the middle. This is going to tell me what I need to pay for stuff. But how do you actually pay for things? Well, I need cards in the soul row. Once per turn, I can take one of the cards from my hand, and you'll see I'm gonna flip it around. You'll see this symbol down, well, up in the top left. It's actually in the bottom right. But the idea is that I can play this in the soul row, and it is capable of essentially tapping for any mana of the colors that you see represented. So in this case, this guy taps for both blue and green. So I would sit that there, and then I can tap it to play Cleo, who only costs 1 blue. And off she is, onto the field. Go me. And we just kind of keep that going back and forth as I build stuff up. Now, the soul row doesn't necessarily mean that you can't do anything with them. There's actually cards that kind of affect the soul row. There are things that actually let me play cards out of the soul row. There are cards that are, while they're in the soul row, I can do things. This isn't just like a dead area where you're sacrificing that card. And that can mean a lot later on in the game. But let's talk about how the actual kind of what you're actually trying to accomplish. Your goal as the opponents is to knock out each one of these and then hit me directly. So you're going to be doing combat damage to these 11-year cards. Any amount of combat damage is going to remove the card. Once all 6 are gone, you can come after me directly. My job, naturally, is going to be defending those attacks. But here's where the missile command kind of idea comes into play. There is nothing that says... This isn't a game where you just simply attack, and then on successful hit, one of these disappears. You're actually targeting specific ones. So I can say that Juturna is going to target this one. I'll just pump these up so you can see them. And Cleo is going to target this one. So now me as the defender has some choices to make. We'll say these are my 2 defenders. We'll just say this is the board state. These are my 2 defenders. Juturna's a bit of a beast. She's got 15 attack and 15 defense. I've got enough that I can kill her if I block with both of the creatures that I have. But it leaves this to just straight up get demolished. Or I can defend, or I can split up my defenses. These two stay surviving. Chances are, these are in trouble. But I get to protect my life. Also, you as the attacker get the same luxury of I can partner up and say, I'm going to hit this one really hard. I need to get through. Hi, Editing Joe needs to revise that little statement for just a sec. You don't actually partner up when you attack. You can actually attack the same 11-year card with two different attackers. So, boom, these can both go after the same card. Me, as the defender, I can block one with two. I can block one attacker with two, but if the other one's left undefended, then, that one gets in. So, my fault. It's not necessarily like a party up and attack thing. It's I pick one attacker, they come in, the other attacker comes in. They can both go after the same 11-year card. Me as the defender can uber block the living crap out of one and let the other go through because I don't want, maybe I need to kill one of them. But my fault. My fault. Can't party up and attack, but you can attack the same thing. There we go. Ooh. And there's not trample damage or anything like that, but it is one of those I know you have a massive defender. I need to make sure that if you defend with them, they die. So that's a lot. That's a lot of your strategic choice with it, which is really cool. And naturally, the more you have, if this is the board state right now, I'm in a bit of a pickle because you can just say I'm gonna come after this one, I'm gonna come after this one, and I'm gonna come after this far one over on the side. And now I've got 3 of these that are getting attacked. I've only got 1 defender. I kind of got to pick my battles. Now, that absolutely sucks. And you might be saying, well, that seems like, it's just going to be all aggro all the time, isn't it? Well, that's where these get really cool. It's one of the things I really like about this game. This isn't just a life, kind of a life representation. This can also kind of save your ass. So we're just going to say that I'm going to defend this one. These two are going to get hits. Now, you as the attacker kind of get to determine which ones go first, which of these attacks happen first. Just because there could be effects on if somebody dies, things happen, you might not, if we'll just say, if he dies, then she dies, you might not want this battle to happen first. You might want, somebody else to go first so that way this effect doesn't hit. But we're going to resolve this attack. She's going to come in, she's going to just straight up blow up this card. Now, it's not just gone. What actually happens is I'm going to flip it over, and I'll zoom. I'll show you this. You can see this little option, this little thing right here, right there. That is essentially, if I flip this over, if this is getting hit and getting removed as an 11-year card, I can play this card for this cost. I can play this card for this cost. So this is flipped over, and I can actually play it for free. And I can actually also use it to defend this thing over here, because that's, it's a catch-up mechanic. If it is not something that I can play or something that I don't want to play, I can actually just put it in my hand. So aggro actually becomes a bit of a tempo swing. If this is, if this is where we're at and you're swinging away, I can say you're tapped out and I'm going to draw myself 3 cards basically, or depending on what they are, one of those might get to play for free and suddenly I've got 2 attackers and you've got no defenders. There's again, so many strategic choices in this game and I really appreciate that. So like I said, once these are all gone, we'll say these are all removed. Now it's your job to actually just get one in. Now in this situation, it's pretty self-explanatory. It's 3-on-2. I would send all 3 of them at myself, and then I'd only have 2 defenders. One would come in and I would die. But the thing that's important to know is that you actually have to target me. You can't just say they swing away and if there's no targets, then everybody just moves over to the individual. Here's what I mean by that. Let's say this is the board state, but I've got 1 remaining. I can't just send each of these 3 at this one, and if the first one goes through, and knocks this out, the other 2 just come after me instead. That's not how this works. So I actually would have to say, Karina is And then that's if she knocks this out and one of these other two get through, then you win the game. However, if this is the way that it's been done and I just block this, these two attacks that came after me don't mean anything because this still exists. So again, a bit of risk and reward with that. It doesn't necessarily mean like this is a miserable play. There are other things that make this work, but that's kind of how the end state goes. That's the game in a nutshell. There's a heck of a lot of cool things going on with it. I was really impressed, but I'm going to get into the things I like and disliked in just a sec. So I'm going to flip the camera and I'll see you in a moment. So I'm not going to make the same mistake that I've made with other companies, specifically MetaZoo. If you're new, I hate MetaZoo so much. But the thing that I did last time is I talked just about the game and gave it kind of an right, and I didn't really talk about my feelings with the business, about the business. I don't want to do that here. Since this is a Kickstarter that's about to happen, I want to share my thoughts also on kind of how I feel about the company and Tanner as an owner, not just is the game worth playing, because I've got some thoughts there as well. So, but since the game is fresh in our mind, let's talk about the game really quick, and here are my thoughts. One, man, this game was fun. I'm just going to make that real simple. This was a lot of fun to play. I love when you have a game where every card is always useful. This is something that, Genesis does, and Flesh and Blood does, and Final Fantasy does, and a lot of games, now, once you've moved to away from I just draw a card that is mana, and it doesn't do anything, except for I play it on the field, and it sits there, and it's just worthless, to be stuck in my hand. I hate that. Every card has some sort of use. Every card has value. Even if you're not ready to play it for its cost, you can use it for something different. That's killer. That's great. The game itself, so much fun. The combat system is unreal. It really takes that magic element. It really takes any element of the dude bashers and things coming after you, spins it on its head in a way that is actually really engaging and really thrilling and really interesting and really fun. There's going to be a counter to that I'll get to. But man, it was an absolute ton of fun to play. Never felt out of it. Granted, the game that I played was actually really close, really back and forth. But getting those, being able to have that life total essentially kind of serve as that catch-up mechanic that can completely change the way the game worked, or in your position in it. Love it. It's one of my favorite things about the Final Fantasy card game is the X bursts, that you could be getting the crap kicked out of you, and then a card that you flip over as part of your damage can completely change the tide of the turn, and leave your opponent defenseless. Fantastic, fantastic stuff. So yeah, I had a lot of fun with it. There's a lot of really unique things. There's just, it is just straight up a really fun game to play, and there's a whole heck of a lot to think about, and it's not difficult. It's not really hard to look at kind of a card and be like, I see how this interacts with like 6-7 things. We didn't even, there wasn't even much to show off the fact that some of the cards can bring like things from the soul row into play, where you can pull cards from the soul row back into your hand with certain spells, and then that thing that you've been sitting on that you couldn't play when you first got it is now at the end game suddenly something you can play. Man, Tanner and crew did a fantastic job. So, let's spin this on its head for just a couple concerns. So I mentioned that it spins the dude bashers on its head. They get a bunch of creatures versus a bunch of other creatures, and there was a little bit of a counter to that, despite it being kind of really fun and having them all work together. The game that I played, we actually hit a stalemate for about 10 minutes. We had so much on the field, and the second the first person swung on a decent defense that was going to happen, it just kind of opened the door for the rest of for that next turn to just let the opponent win. So we just stared at each other and just kept drawing cards until somebody got the advantage on the field. That wasn't cool. Maybe that was just bad luck. Maybe it was just bad luck with what we had. These were the test decks. You could definitely kind of build around, preventing that kind of stuff naturally. Some sort of board removal, board wipe. There are ways to go about this. But that was a little bit frustrating. So granted, it was nice to never feel out of it, and like I was going to get destroyed, and it was great to be able to think of, here are the series of moves that ensure that I don't die, and if he does anything, here are the series of moves to ensure that I win. That was neat, but we both had 6 creatures on the field, and we both literally couldn't do anything with it. Not feeling that. The other thing... I had humans and mystics. No, I think I played undead and ascendancy in the game that I played. And I'm going to be real honest, they didn't feel that different. They didn't. This is a pro and a con here. One of the things that Tanner and the team have been talking about are things like archetypes. Now, they don't actually want to use archetypes. An archetype is essentially just kind of, it's almost like a subtype, a subclass. So I had humans, but maybe I had, alchemy humans, or I had some sort of subgroup where that group of humans all works together. The pro to, the con to having those types of archetypes is it really kind of those, if they ever become meta, the deck kind of builds itself. Any other game where you've got that archetype that's hitting in, the deck is pretty much the same for everybody who plays it, outside of maybe a couple of cards. And at that point, it's just whose deck performed better in the moment, minus maybe a few key decisions. I like that, but on the flip side, it never really felt like I was building up to anything exciting with the cards that I had. Yes, I was building an impenetrable board state, and I had a lot sitting, but it was some basic synergies, but the deck never really felt like it was working together towards some sort of critical mass. And for me, I like those elements of critical mass. That feels pretty good. It feels pretty fun to be able to kind of build a deck that leads towards that, and I have to kind of earn that, especially when you have cool things like the Soul Row that can build itself up, and then you can use those cards again. I miss that. I don't know how I feel. Honestly, I don't know what the answer is. I don't know what the balance is, because I feel like I'm picking one or the other of, do I want archetypes or not? I really don't, but I felt like there needs to be a mid-ground, because it was just I had a board of a ton of things, and he had a board of a ton of things, and that's all that it felt like. Speaking of all that it felt like, the factions themselves didn't really feel like much either. Yes, I had Undead, which had their own special keyword, which was toxic, and I had Ascendants that I think maybe they can come back into play from a while. These are Humans and Mystics. They didn't feel all that different. Honestly, I didn't really feel like I was just the Humans and the Mystics. They didn't really work that much together. I mean, they did. Like, some humans were like, I must have Mystics in the deck and whatnot, but playing a bunch of humans didn't feel like I played a bunch of humans. It didn't feel like there were enough different mechanics for me to say, oh, this is clearly a human deck because of this is the way that it plays. That wasn't a thing. That wasn't a thing that I saw. Same with Mystics, same with Undead, same with Ascendant. It just didn't feel like anything truly different. And again, that could just be a lack of fun of the deck building side. It's just a bunch of cards that kind of come together to create synergies. And at that point, what the heck are the classes for? Like, why do I really need them? I know why you need them, but it just didn't feel different enough. Maybe that's something, this is only the first set. Those are things that can get established later. Again, that's where you start getting into the archetype conversation. Like, I know I'm asking for the fix that I don't want. There could very well be a balance there. But yeah, that's kind of where I was as far as, it was a lot of fun to play, but I didn't really feel like I was doing anything truly epic and awesome in it. And I would like that feeling. So, stuff that could probably change in the future, or that could very well just be me, or that could very well just be the one game that I played. So with all that stuff aside, though, it was an absolute blast to play, and I would want to play it again, and I do want to play it again, and I am excited to see more of the cards. Yes, I am kind of criticizing what I like, which is that, the synergies and the true feeling of building something that the whole thing works together towards something kind of insane and nonsensical, but that's just because I'm one of those types of people, one of those types of players. But, mechanics-wise, love it. That missile command system, I'm still sticking with. It's kind of a missile command system. Absolute blast. It is absolutely worth playing, and I was a big fan of it. I kind of know a little bit about where he wants to go with it, where they want to go with the game, and it's exciting. It is very worth playing. It is very, very fun to play. To deck build and to take those feelings, I'm wavering a little bit on that, but honestly, there are worse concerns to have with, or I've had worse concerns with other games, and I've still been a big fan of them. So that's kind of in the petty category. So that's the game itself, but let's kind of talk about the rest of it. First things first, we've got to point this out. We've got to point out the artwork. My God, I'm gonna hope I'm not doing the focus thing, but man, this artwork in this game is truly, truly beautiful. I'll probably just show up digital versions of these. Kind of depends on how much time I have to do this review, or to get this thing finished up. But I know that he put a lot of money, and it was one of his main things is to get that art just in and stunning, and it is in and stunning. Now, I'm going to say this because that's kind of been the thing lately, is you've got Legions, Realms at War, I think, is one, and you've got Sorcery, and now you've got Kryptik, where there's been a lot of effort put into the art, and people are kind of comparing that to the quality of the product. Please be very careful with that. Please try out these things. I'm going to be honest, I kind of regret my Sorcery Kickstarter purchase, just because after kind of seeing the game and kind of hearing about the business model a little bit, I'm like, I don't know. I really got suckered in with the art. I'm not saying it's bad or anything like that. It's just one of those, like, man, it didn't really draw me the way I wanted it to. Being said, this for me has both gorgeous artwork as well as great gameplay. The other thing I really like about the artwork is that it kind of goes to 3D. Like, this is Jaturna. You can see, like, she's popping over the frame. They're doing that with, like, Cleo. She pops over the frame. This isn't just we took art, we put it in the back, we had a template, we stuck it on top. Like, somebody looked at every single one of these cards and did a little bit of masking and did a little bit of, kind of cool work to make these really feel exciting to look at. That's one thing. These cards are exciting to look at. And that's cool. Like, Pollux is great because he's not just kind of peeking around up here, but he actually goes through, like, he goes through the bottom of the card. That's cool. That's really neat. I appreciated a lot of that. Definitely. I know they're still working on kind of designs of the cards and whatnot, so like things like this, like card quality, I'm not going to get into that because I literally got test decks, so I'm not touching that at all, but artwork style, solid. Very, very solid. Couple things to finish up, as far as kind of the just general other business things. So yeah, art's great, yay, huzzah. The community-driven aspect of this game is going to be something that I'm really curious how far he takes that. I think once that first set is out, you're going to need to kind of pull that back, and that community-driven, community-built is going to basically just mean you've got playtesters for future league stuff. Genesis, that's kind of the way that we went, in that we have a future league. We've got glorified testers, but I worry that if he really wants to drive that community-driven home all the way through the game, you have a game that is begging for massive rules changes, begging for bans, and begging for errata that's just going to show up out of nowhere. The more the internet gets their hands on something, the more they're going to find a way to make it broken. And if you become at the mercy of that a little bit too much, then the game's going to be in a constant state of flux. Even recently, even when the set is supposed to be 99% complete, there was still a survey out regarding what kind of the win condition of the game should be. He landed where I'm glad he landed where he landed, but that was still a question, and that's a big question. That's a little terrifying. So I hope that there's a point where he kind of draws the line in the sand and says, this is the game. This is the community's contribution. It's just to make sure that we don't have anything imbalanced at this point. Crossing fingers. I'm not saying he won't do that. I have a lot of faith in Tanner and his desire to make a good game. When you have something like this, like Genesis, it basically tested in production. That's kind of what Tanner is. He's not quite testing in production, but he's pretty darn close. And he has definitely been responding. Anybody who's able to do that, I have a lot more confidence in them. And the companies that don't really want to do that at a zoo, they're the ones who I worry about. I am fully convinced that Tanner and that team want to make a great product, want to make a great card game, want to make something that is a lot of fun to play, want to make something that is going to be engaging and exciting and really get you involved, because it's just good. And I like that. I like having that confidence right now in what I've seen off of his Discord and whatnot. What I do want to see a little bit more of is the roadmap doesn't show me much. I don't see a lot of conversations about how organized play is going to work. I know that there's a tournament happening in January over in Las Vegas, because that's where Tanner's at. There's a tournament happening over there, but I don't really see too much for like the LGSs. I don't see any sort of like testing circuits. I don't see any talks about what that could look like. And I'd like to see a little bit more of that, especially if I'm going to jump into the Kickstarter. For a game that very much looks like it wants to be competitive, I would have liked to see a little bit more of that competitive side played out. You don't even have to give me what the prizes are, but just show me that, hey, this is how we're working with local game stores. This is what we're doing to show you that the physical cards mean something. Show me why these matter, because yes, I know your entire life has been Discord, but you got to make me care about the physical product. I got to know what that is. I don't see any of that. So I'd like to see a little bit more of it. I'd like to see a little bit more of the business plan of how are you going to, once this thing gets off the ground and it's going to be successful, at least it's definitely going to be Kickstarter successful. How are you going to make me all the way out in Colorado happy to have a community, build a community, find other players, want to travel for when you see these types of things? I want to see that plan before I invest in Kickstarter, or I'd like to see a little bit more of that. I'm getting this Kickstarter anyway, but I want to see a little bit more of that. And yes, you're probably spending your time just getting the game refined and getting all that stuff set out, but that really needs to be your next move. It's just, why should I be interested as somebody who wants to open packs and do something with the cards? So that's what I have for you. Phenomenal gameplay, definitely feels really unique. The combat system is gold, especially for, I don't like using the term magic clone, but it's going to feel like a magic clone right out of the gate. But once you delve into even the basics of how to win and whatnot, it's very, very different, and it is really fun. If you're looking for something that feels comfortable, but is wildly on its head, very much spun on its head, you really, really should check this out. I do, of course, wish that I had a little bit more an investment of, I wish that it felt like it was just a cooler engine building up towards something, but I've had worse complaints before. I still had a ton of fun with what was there. The art is gorgeous, and I'm excited to see more of that. The lore is actually very, very cool. There's a whole group in the Discord that's actually trying to figure out what the lore is and piece it apart. So there's a whole plan there, and I'm excited to see more of that. I'm not as much of a lore junkie as I like to pretend I am, but that's mostly because I just don't have time. But it is a cool story, at least. The 66-year thing. So also, I have utmost confidence in Tanner and that team's ability to make something really successful. He is very, very passionate, and he is the right kind of passionate. He is the kind of passionate that goes into the fire of Gamma and talks to local game store owners who are burned out with card games. That's going to be another video. He is going into the community who can tear apart card games, and he is getting feedback and he is adjusting. That shows a lot of gumption. That shows a lot of character, and he has made some really good moves, and after all of that insanity, he put together a game that was a lot of fun. I've got to give you a ton of credit. So I'm excited to see what Tanner's going to do. Tanner, natural message for you. I'd love to see more of kind of what this looks like once I get cards in hand. That's my message to you, and I think that those people who are looking at Kickstarter saying, this is cool and all, but what do I do with these once I have them? I'd like to see maybe a little bit more of that. That's going to put a lot more confidence in me. I am definitely going to be signing up for your Kickstarter just because I really do enjoy so many things. But that might be something that some other people, especially local game stores, might be looking for. Again, full confidence that you're going to find it, full confidence you have a plan, but I also know you're about to launch a Kickstarter. Probably pretty busy. So for those of you, if you are interested, Kryptik TCG.com. That is Kryptik.com, spelled in a very cryptic way. That should get you into what the play, and you can look at the cards. There's a print and play series of decks. He's got a Discord server. You can play this on TTS, Tabletop Simulator if you'd like as well. It is absolutely worth checking out if you are into some really cool, engaging gameplay. And yeah, I would love to know your thoughts. Let me know in the comments if you have played more, if you have some counters to some of my concerns, if you have some concerns that I didn't cover. I'd love to talk about it. And other than that, check out April 15th is when that Kickstarter launches. So make sure to, bookmark that and follow it and whatnot. I'll at least see you on the 15th for that. And good luck, Tanner. And I will see everybody else next time.